Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of My Flash Funding. Today we are joined by the one and only Mr. Blake himself. This has probably been a long time coming. I've been trying to get him on here for a very long time, but we're glad we finally got him here now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Blake, if you want to take the stage, let the people know who you are and what is it you do.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and for your support of My Flash Funding. It's been incredible. But yeah, I am the founder of My Flash Funding, and it is an honor to be building this company alongside such great community. And yeah, thanks for having me, Luke.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, what I'll do then, because I kind of want to dive straight in, because I'm very interested to kind of pick your brains a little bit. So I guess the first question I wanted to start is why a prop firm? There's obviously other different things out there. What was it about the prop firm sector that caught your eye or intrigued you?
Yeah, basically what occurred was just since 2020, I'd been using prop firms. And really around 2022, I was realizing, wow, like more and more and more and more prop firms are coming to the market. And I was wondering like what was going on. I loved it obviously because you can diversify your funds and your capital. But actually, literally what occurred was right around in February, I just kept seeing them pop up, and I was like, well, why can't I do this? I know there's going to be a way that I can create a prop firm because I felt as if there was still kind of a market for the 6% profit targets, right? No one had come out with that, and just a lower profit target for someone who can kind of extend their challenge, throughout a couple months with risking just 1 to 2% a month, or excuse me, gaining 1 to 2% a month. And with that being said, basically, I came across Blue Guardian and was speaking to Sean, the owner of him, and basically he showed me the ropes of how to create it and just went all in. So
Yeah.
it's a very crazy story. It was very, very abrupt. Literally in February was when I was thinking about opening one. And that's when I had come across Blue Guardian and Sean too. So it was like all the stars aligned, and it's been incredible.
Interesting. Did it all happen in quite a short space of time then, from the sounds of it?
Yeah, it was probably within like 2 weeks. So like in
Wow.
in the beginning of February, maybe, or first of February, I was just like, I was actually down in Colombia, South America, gonna start this. We had coded an EA, so
Mm.
an expert advisor, and we were gonna sell it. And I was like, I've done this before, and it's cool and it's great, and I love EAs. I only trade EAs, but I realized we were spending so much money on prop firm challenges to run this EA on,
Mm.
and I was like, dude, why am I not on the other side of that? And that's what sparked it. So I was down there about to start another business, and literally 2 weeks later is whenever kind of my flash
Wow.
funding was accepted.
Wow. And because interesting you say about the 6%, and I want to come on to that in a little while as well, because I think that's
Yeah.
something that we'll definitely have to top up or have to speak on. But let's just take it back a little bit. Before prop firms, before everything, what's your story then? I mean, before you started getting into this kind of sector, were you already trading your own capital, or were you essentially in a different industry altogether? What does it sort of look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trading since 2018. So was trading since 2018. I mean, and I feel like every single trader has kind of gone through kind of phases in their trading journey, right? So I started with just basically putting a couple $100 into a Forex account, and I was also working, in the meantime, and trading on the side and learning and waking up in the mornings and watching the charts and trading, and just slowly evolved. So, I basically would join businesses, help them grow, create Forex businesses. I mean, literally, there's probably 15 or 20 Forex businesses that I feel like I was a part of. Like, it would take us a long time to really talk about all of them, but just kind of kept going through the journey of learning,
Mm.
Forex and the people in it and the business around it and things like that. And in 2020, I had a pretty large L that set
Right.
me back in a major way. And I kind of stopped trading for a while.
Okay.
And I had to take like a $12 an hour job. It was literally a temp job at USA Today. And this is really not that long ago, I guess, only 3 years ago.
Mm.
And from there, basically they had decided to send everyone to a call center over in India or something like that. They were moving all of
Okay.
their employees overseas.
Mm.
And I was like, all right, well, I just quit basically that day whenever they said that. They said it was going to be a while, but I was just scouring for jobs online and I found this tech job and it was ClickUp. And ClickUp was a tech startup. And I kind of joined when they basically just started. They had less than 200 employees. They're now worth $4 billion. So basically, I got to see a
Wow.
tech startup go from nothing to something.
Mm.
I was super, super blessed because tech startups pay really well and just kept trading. In the meantime, I finally kind of, was able to get my L taken care of.
Yeah.
And from there and then I invested into a Walmart store as well, so we had like just a bunch of e-com things and a bunch of things all over the place. This is how I always was, but the Walmart store did super super good. I think we did like 700,000 in sales, and
Wow.
so that helped me a lot. And then obviously I had the tech startup job as well.
Mm.
So I basically quit the tech startup job and invested my entire net worth into the prop firm from the story that I'd mentioned earlier. So yeah, that's kind of a long-winded my morning mind still trying to wake up. But yeah, that's it's been a journey, man. It's been absolutely amazing.
So by the sounds of it, obviously, given the fact of what you just mentioned about putting your entire net worth into the prop firm, especially after when you took that massive L, like you mentioned, that must have been quite a risk, and you have to have some, quite a large level of bravery to actually be able to do that, especially when you have taken a big loss, like you said previously. Going back to that loss, I suppose I wanted to ask, what did that teach you about trading at that time when you took it? What was your kind of mentality moving forward?
I think it was be very careful who you work with,
Mm.
along with analyze everything much closer. Right? Because the loss came after we were making $4,000 to $5,000 a day.
Wow. Okay.
And so we were doing really, really well. And basically, we had decided to actually start trading Bitcoin using the EA. And, with Bitcoin, there's usually in-house liquidity, right?
Mm.
So we got slipped like crazy. And actually, I had personally never seen a Forex account go negative, but our account went negative 14,000.
Wow.
So yeah, that's
That's
how bad
crazy.
we got slipped. It was basically taught me, first of all, don't gamble.
Mm.
Understand where your money is at, right? Is it in an offshore broker? Do you trust them? That's why I'm super big on like transparency and trust and being upfront about who we are and what we do.
Mm.
Just because a lot of these brokers and stuff, they don't really have anyone at the forefront of their brand. So I think
Mm.
that's crucial. But basically, that after that, I completely changed my risk game. I completely changed my entire trading game and went to like 1 to 2% profit targets per month because I looked
Mm.
at the long term. And that's when I started, getting back into prop firms and realized, look, like I still have to make 10%. Like this is going to take me 5 to 6 months to pass. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was cooking for a while.
Is that when you became consistently profitable then? Was it around that time after you took that loss, or were you already consistent with your own individual trading prior to that? Because I know you mentioned about the 2% gain per month. Were you already making that prior? Were you making more, or what was the sort of situation?
Yeah, so I'd say 2020 when I really discovered like EAs is whenever I actually became profitable. Before then, I mean, your first year trading, right? So 2018 is when I started, and it was November 2018. So really I had about a year So 2019 and then 2020. And in between that, you know, you're just learning how to trade. You're learning the fundamentals. You're learning technical analysis. You're literally, you see a jackpot trade strategy on YouTube and you switch your entire plan. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what it was the first year. And then the second year, I kind of actually realized I love the automation side of Expert Advisors. And I never went back. So after 2020, when I discovered EAs and how we can utilize them, and it kind of takes the pressure off of you in terms of, you know, getting into the market, getting out of the market, risking too much because it can control your risk. So that's when, and after I took that massive loss, you know, basically I continued to use EAs in a much different way.
Mm.
So yeah, and basically we began to code our own EAs as well. I had created a company called Apollo and partnered with a few other people. We had like a 6-figure investment portfolio where we did like, I guess it's kind of grid and martingale, but basically the entry strategies are like smart money concepts
Okay.
and, you know, liquidity blocks and order fills. So like the entries were based on actual concepts, but the trading strategy was still, you know, a basic EA, which is kind of martingale or grid. So, and it was based on the settings we set. But with that, basically we would use like $100,000 account. We had a 6-figure, and it was not like a prop firm account. It was real funds, and we would literally use like a 0.01 on that. So with that, we would have 3 or 4 EAs in there running at the
Mm.
same time. And, you know, we would do 1 to 2% a month. So still have that portfolio. I currently don't use it, totally focused on MyFlash funding. But
Sure.
yeah, if I were to trade again, I would just throw the portfolio back on there.
It's interesting you say that because I think, I speak a lot about the psychological aspects of trading, as I think it's crucial and I do think it's fundamental. I just want to take you back to that loss again and
Yeah.
moving forward up until the point where you're using the EAs and so forth. When you made that shift into the EAs and so forth, how did that affect your psychological aspects? Did it change much? Because obviously you're not necessarily having to worry about the fears and the emotions that you take by taking the trades yourself and stuff. So how did that kind of change your mentality moving forward? Did it affect your psychology at all?
Yeah, I think it changes everything. I think it allows you to sleep. You go to sleep knowing that you're not going to blow your account. You go to sleep knowing that your account is safe in the morning.
Mm.
And if it is in drawdown, it's 1% perhaps. And I think that is huge. I think for me, whenever I was using that EA and took that big L, you know, we were just always risking so much. Like you wake up in the middle of the night and wonder what's going on, kind of thing. So
It's a
I think
horrible
that's huge.
feeling.
As you know, someone actually posted a meme in the My Flash Funding Memes channel, and it was like this guy with like massive eyes. It was like how traders sleep at night when they have over leveraged positions. And it's just so true. Like it's
Yeah.
so true.
What do you think that comes
Basically
down
how
to mostly in terms of the overtrading? Do you think that comes down to greed? Do you think that comes down to maybe fear? What would, because obviously I know you've been there previously. What would you put it
yeah.
down to at that time?
Yeah, I think it comes from desire,
Mm.
right? Desire for more. And one thing that always helped me was like I love philosophy and like stoicism and stoics. And one thing they say is don't chase what you already have. Basically, you already have everything, right? You have life, you have peace, you have joy, it's all inside of you. So EA's allowed me to not chase what I already had, right? So I think that's huge. Like if I know that I have a temptation to chase, which in trading, you know, you take an L, it's very easy to chase,
Yeah.
right? Sitting on your hands is the goal. But our animalistic nature wants more or
Mm.
wants that loss back. So being at peace internally, I think is crucial.
Mm. Do you think you need a certain characteristic to be a trader? Because I think, there's so many traders out there who do have good strategies, but they can't execute it correctly because of their mentality or because of their characteristics or the way that they've been brought up. you know, some people, some traders, especially some ones that I know, they physically cannot take a loss. And it sounds very easy to say, oh, just take the loss. But they get so consumed by taking a loss and then having that urge inside of them to then, you know, reevaluate and try and find another trade 10, 15, 20 minutes later rather than being able to call it a day. Do you think you need a certain type of person to be able to accept it?
You know what, man? I think they just need to evolve. That's
Mm,
really it, right? Because life, so here's what I view about life. People say you get older, right? Your age, your physical body gets older, but the reality is, as you learn lessons, if you learn those lessons properly, your soul actually becomes quote unquote lighter, right? So
mm,
you carry less baggage, therefore you're evolving. It's like an onion, and the center is your soul. You peel back the layers, and as you get older, you peel back the layers because the layers are lessons. So the more
mm.
lessons you learn, the easier, or excuse me, the closer you get to your true self, right? So it's like a turtle in a shell. The true self is the turtle within the shell. So I think that, I don't know if anyone was quote unquote born to be a trader. I think it's something that you learn to be because the chart is emotions on a screen. So if we can learn
Mm.
to deal with our emotions and basically understand what we are seeing is actually us,
Yeah.
I think that's the change that's needed in terms of, like, physically, if they can't do it, the willingness to understand that or change would allow them to do so.
Yeah, because I think that's probably one of the hardest things, isn't it? That just being able to take responsibility and reflect and know that it's actually your fault rather than blaming the markets or blaming everything around you, rather than
It's fact.
taking responsibility. So that's a good point. All right, what I want to do, I want to go into my flash funding now because I know we've had a bit of a background about, you know, where you came from and so forth. When you started my flash funding, what was your ultimate goal? Would you say what was kind of the thing that you wanted to make sure that your traders knew, understood, and valued when
Yes.
coming to you? So,
Yeah, I want to bring people together, man. I've always been community driven. I
mm,
think that, we're not even at the start of really the community of My Flash Funding. I think, like the mission, I say this a lot, is attract heart-centered people to become the new influencers of the world, right? So I want to put out an energy of My Flash Funding, which Flash is energy. So basically it's kind of like a, I guess, synchronicity between the name and like the mission. But I want to put out an energy where it's like, you come to My Flash Funding, you will leave feeling better than you did when you came. When you opened a ticket on Discord, you now feel better after that ticket's closed. So I want to attract, I want to put out the energy that attracts those types of people where they want to do that as well. They want to do that for other people, for the betterment of the collective consciousness of the world. And the way we can do that is obviously find people, and yeah, they come to us, like build that kind of community and make them wealthy, quote unquote, by paying them out as funded traders,
yeah.
right? And then we come together and we make the world a better place, whether that be, we're going to Africa together and we're, building wells like Mr. Beast, or we're going to, a South American Guatemalan orphanage, or, we're just walking downtown St. Louis and helping out with the homeless, or that's what I want, man. Like,
Mm,
that's, if I can somehow provide that, I can
yeah.
die happy. Like, this is
Yeah.
my mission. I think about this all day, all night. How can it be better? How can it be more sustainable to where we can do more good and help the world more and more and more and more?
It's
So
interesting that you have that outlook because I think if you was to go around and speak to most prop firm CEOs and so forth, they're incredibly, which is rightfully so, money driven. You know, I'm not saying that you're not money driven, but you know, it's more inherent within them that you can see that it's all about that. Whereas you have more of a bigger view. essentially on life. It's not just the trading. That's just like the stepping goal to get to, the bigger picture. That kind of moves me on to my next question, Blake, because I think this part is probably something that most traders always want to know. Interestingly enough, the prop firm industry doesn't always, what's the word? I mean, it kind of can lack transparency. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and that could be with payouts, that could be with margins, that, there's always things that prop firms seem to be doing that put the, results within their favor so that you lose and so forth. You know, I guess I wanted to sort of ask you, how are you kind of different to most prop firms?
In terms of transparency rules
Yeah,
or
sort of just
transparency,
transparency, trust, everything like that.
for sure. Whatever question you want to ask me, I'll answer it. Really. Even in another way, I'd say in the Discord, and this shows, we really do want to answer all the questions if you have any.
Mm.
In the Discord, we added a AMA section. So I do bi-weekly community updates on Twitter. We added an AMA section where anyone can come in there and make a very specific question. They can add as many details as they want from me to that question, and I'll answer them on the bi-weekly community updates. So, that's my goal is if
Mm.
you have questions, if you want to know anything, I'm here to tell you. And we're always looking to become more and more transparent, more sustainable, more real with the traders. So that's the goal. And if anyone has suggestions on how to do that, we're here.
I think that's really helpful. And do you know what? It that kind of brings me on to my next question anyway, which is the one I've been waiting to ask you, the 6% profit target.
Yes.
I think that goes nicely in with the transparency. Most prop firms, as we know, do 10%. That's kind of standard. What was it that gave you the idea for the 6%? Because I know every trader out there who's listening, who's watching, is instantly going to be intrigued by 6%, but some may say, what's the catch essentially? But
Hmm.
so why for you? Why 6%?
Yeah, so 6% came from exactly what we had kind of the theme of the call so far, right? Which is like 1 to 2% a month
Yeah.
is what I would go for. And taking an 8 or 10% prop firm challenge and doing 1 to 2% a month. I mean, you're passing phase one in 5 to 6 months.
Yeah.
I would literally look at it and be like, I don't even know if this is worth it because I'm not going to get funded until the end of the year. So,
Yeah.
um, with the 6% profit target, basically, I wanted to go to that other side of the market of people who, risk like me. And what's actually really funny, right before this call, one of my old partners in Apolotech, he's actually using the portfolio that we used on my flash funding and ICs in phase two currently. So,
Wow.
I think that goes to show because basically it would take him a lot longer to pass on another prop firm.
Absolutely. And obviously I've spoken to people previously, whether that be Jordan, whether that be Kevin, especially Jordan, I'll focus on. He mentioned in detail how much better it is to have a 6% target. And even me, I know I've just sort of purchased one of my Flash Funding challenges again over the course of the last 2 weeks myself. So I know, been trading for what, 3 or 4 years, how difficult it is to pass a 10%. It may sound easy, but it's not. It's
Mhm.
not at all. Especially if you're still an up and coming trader, it takes a long, long
For sure.
time, and of course, you're more likely to lose than you are to win.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess that kind of leads us on to the last bit, which I would say, Blake, with yourself as a CEO, what would you say would be the one thing that you want traders to know, not just about yourself, but about my flash funding? And what piece of advice would you give to anyone who's interested or anyone who's watching now and is potentially on the fence with purchasing one of our challenges?
Yeah, I would genuinely, just say join our Discord. Join our Discord. Follow us on Twitter. On Fridays, we have a Twitter space uh, with a bunch of our affiliates. So come see the community and you'll really feel the energy. I believe we provide an energy that is a lot different than other prop firms. You know, going back to the mission that I mentioned earlier, you know, this is just that's what we want to give off. So obviously we have the 6% profit target, which is you know, the leading industry profit split, or excuse me, profit target. And our community is just top notch, and we're going to continue to add on to it. We actually, while we're speaking right now, one of our top traders is doing a weekly overview of the markets called Chart and Chill. So yeah, I mean, look, we're just going to continue pouring into the community, and we really care about our people and our traders. So that's one thing I'd say. You know, I'm not trying to sell you. Don't
No, of
all
course.
community stuff is totally free. So come join the community, and you know, we just want to give back to you.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I've been in different discords before, Blake, and other than potentially, you know, when I first started, them just putting out signals, because you know, I'm sure nearly every trader has tried a signal group before and stuff like that, which is obviously
Yeah,
completely different to this. But most of them don't provide the real educational tools, the real, you know, strategies that they don't really put any strategies in place for you to actually improve. You see, it's all just about results, results, results. So that was one of the main
yeah,
things that I really loved about coming to my flash funding and so forth. So Blake, thank you so much. It's been an absolute
absolutely.
pleasure speaking to you. I really hope this was really, really helpful for anyone watching. And if anyone is watching, if anyone's intrigued, if anyone wants to know a little bit more, please don't hesitate to drop a message or get into the Discord. Like Blake says, there's so much educational tools there for you. You can even just dip your toe in the water and see how it feels. All right. But Blake, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Cheers, buddy.
Thank you so much, Luke. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.